Hey guys, welcome back to NY Sports MC. We're here for our Sunday night live chat. I see we got Steven and Dr. Monica in here already, which is great. Wanted to start out and just go over the tight end video that I came out with earlier this week. I had all intentions on coming out with a second part of that series this week, as I did two last week, but just had a lot going on this week. My two sons, who was not in one of my videos. Hey, Goose, how's it going? Turned one yesterday, so we had some family over for that. Did a little Zoom for the people out of town that couldn't be there. And then today, just running around doing a whole bunch of stuff at the house. So wasn't able to get that up today. But thanks, Dr. Monica. I appreciate that. So some of you guys had asked me to get somebody on the channel, start to do some collab work. So I did. I brought in Sunshine Sports Network to go over the tight ends with me. And I think that was an easier position group for us to do. I think it's pretty straightforward. And actually, it's funny because that was a position group that made me want to make this series, because I saw a listing and it had it all out of whack. It had the Jets at like third, which didn't make any sense at all. So it was interesting to see that even the Dolphins YouTuber, and I thought it was great, because as I'm preparing for us to go live and for us to chat a little bit before we got on, I'm like, my top two teams are the Jets and the Dolphins. And, with Herndon having been suspended last year and then injured, and Griffin kind of, never really being a great tight end, just being a solid guy, and having an injury last year too, I could have easily saw how he could have potentially argued the Dolphins as number one. But no, he did see the potential in Herndon and Griffin pairing and how deep we are, and has number one as well. Steven, I am 30. Just turned 30 last month. Who are Jets cutting? Anyone? It's June 1st. So Jermaine Johnson will be officially gone now. I don't know if they're going to cut people. It's kind of weird because they have a few people who can easily be let go, right, and not cost anything or much at all, like Winters, like Avery Williamson. But at this point in the game, I mean, you would have thought that they would have did that already to use that cap space for some other people. I think at this point, there's not anybody that they're looking to spend big money on. I don't know if they cut anybody, to be honest. I think they're going to go into camp with pretty much the people they got, and then kind of see where it goes from there. I can still see them bringing in one or two pieces if they can get Logan Ryan to kind of come down to where they want to be. I can see them bringing him in, but I would then see us probably cutting one of our corners because we have way too many left on the team. But hey, Braden, who's our next free agent wide receiver? So I don't think they're going to go after any of the guys that are available. I think if they were going to, we would have heard some kind of inkling of them either being interested in somebody or talking to a few different receivers. You really haven't heard much. I think that they still do potentially look to make a move at that wide receiver position. Like I said, I think it's going to be something that happens during training camp, whether they trade a player at a position where we have too many players for a wide receiver, or whether they just wait for one of these other teams to potentially cut one free and then go to scoop up that individual, as opposed to signing somebody that's available right now. There's a few, options out there, but like I said, I just think that we would have been linked to anybody, and we really haven't. So that makes me think that they're not really too interested in bringing anybody in at this moment, but we'll see what happens. They'll have around $20 million after tomorrow, won't they? Something like that, yeah. But, Steven, you also got to remember that they have to sign the whole rookie class. So I don't know if that is factored into that number, because I've seen that too. If the rookie class is not factored into that number, you can subtract about $8 to $9 million off of that. And then that's about how much we would have left. Because I saw the number two, we had about roughly $10 million, and then we cut him, we'll get about $11 million. So, $20 million, a little more. But I don't know if that $10 million was factoring in the rookie contracts that nobody's even signed yet. So, like I said, I didn't look into that article to see if that was including those rookie deals, because they're all slotted now, so it could have been including them. Jets boom or bust potential. that we drafted from the list: Becton, Davis, Mims. Are you, DeMonica, are you asking me to choose one, or are you just saying that those guys are all boom or bust prospects? I'll wait to see what you're saying that, but I don't understand having Brian Winters saving $7 million. Why do we love him so much? I'm not really sure either, Frank. I think it's just something that so if you watch my video on New Jersey kind of opening back up, I said how us being able to get back in our facility while coaches still can't get in, while we still can't practice, our offensive line, who's all new playing with each other, can't actually start to gel. I said it's very important that we get back in the facility because the trainers are allowed to get in and the doctors are allowed to get in. The injured players are allowed to get in. So, Frank, I think a lot of it just has to do with the fact that they're just waiting to see where these guys are all at. I mean, they've heard from their own personal doctors, but they haven't heard from the team doctors. And I think that could be a big factor, waiting to see. So maybe they do release some people at that point. Like I said, I think saving the money on Winters is better than keeping him as well. I'd rather just save that money and have it roll into next year, even if we don't use it this year, right? So you can roll a certain amount of money into the next year to help your cap out the next year. And I'd rather even do that than pay Winters that money. But we'll see what happens here. Every draft pick is boom or bust, every team. Asking me to pick. So if I had to pick which one I would be most worried about being boom or bust, that's tough. I mean, if you asked me right after draft weekend, I would have said Mekhi Becton just because of how large of an individual he is and the fact that he really burst onto the scene this last year. What's kind of got me to walk that back a little bit is just hearing some of the things he's been doing and how hard he's been training. He seems to have a really, really, really good attitude, a really good work ethic. And I think that helps to reduce that chance of a bust. If I had to pick out of those three, I'd probably pick Davis just because he was a walk-on in college. He really thought, he said that, when they asked about how he felt about getting drafted, he really thought that his playing days were over when he left high school. But then he walked onto the program there and, played well, but he's a safety position. So safety is also a position where, it's not like we kind of spoke about with Jamal Adams. It's not really a high priority position. It's not really a premium position. So he could just bust out because of the fact that he won't be a high impact player potentially. But if he's average to slightly above average starting safety and a very good special teamer, it's a good pick. So I would have to go with him, though, currently. They're going to have over $100 million next offseason. That's why you pay Jamal. Do you think Jason Peters is still an option for us, veteran, to help Becton? I'm not sure, Braden, because I didn't think so once we drafted him. But then you heard rumors after the draft that they may still be looking at bringing in Jason Peters. I don't know if Jason Peters is ready to be a backup, and I don't want Becton to be on the bench. And I don't think you paid Fant that much to just bring in an old veteran to take his, to kind of start over him. So I see the tackle spots as being the starting spots as being solidified with Becton and Fant, at least to start the season. So I would bring in Jason Peters if he wants to be a backup, because I also want the other tackle, the guy that we got in the fourth round. I can't think of his name right now. Cameron Clark. I want him to play guard. I want him to practice at guard. I don't want him to be a backup tackle. I want him to compete for that starting left guard spot. So I'd bring in Peters if he's willing to be the backup. And I think that would be great. I'd also be willing to bring back Beachum if he'd want to be a backup. I think Beachum would be a very serviceable backup. He's a very, very good locker room guy, does a lot for the community. And I think he would also be a nice security blanket for if Fant is, not a starting caliber tackle. I think you could then throw back Beachum over there at right tackle. So I'm all for bringing in a veteran to be behind him, but we'll have to see what happens. Yeah, he is pretty old. Like I said, that's why I would want him as a backup. I mean, 5-star side back. Yeah, Cameron Clark. Yeah, it came to me. Beachum don't like Gase. So did Beachum say something, or are you just where's that coming from, Stephen? I didn't see anything like that. But that'd be interesting. I don't know why he wouldn't like Gase. I'm sure he probably hasn't even met him yet in person. But we'll see. So like I said, didn't get along with him. I'll have to look that up, Stephen, after I get off. Like I said, I didn't see anything like that. But that would be interesting. I hope that's not the case, obviously, because that's our head coach and our number one pick. We want them to be on the same page for sure. And like I've said before, like I want Gase to be the long-term answer here. Not that I'm a huge Gase fan. It's just I'm a Jets fan, and I want to see us do well. And if he's gone after this year, then we're just resetting everything all over again. And that's not good for the development of our franchise. So I'm hoping that he has a great year this year. I hope he wins Coach of the Year. We got to get Logan Ryan. Yeah, I mean, Beachum. Oh, yeah, it does say Beachum. I don't know why I was thinking Becton. Beachum. Oh, that'd be interesting. I'll have to look. Like I said, I'll still look that up. Sorry about that, Steven. Like I said, it's been a long weekend. We got to get Logan Ryan. Yeah, I can. Like I said, Frank, it's just all about price. With everybody, it's all about price. And you see that with Joe Douglas. He is not going to overpay people. He pretty much set his price and said, if you want it, come get it. You can come play here. So that's the thing. He did it with Jordan Jenkins, too. Jordan Jenkins thought he was going to get a whole bunch of money. We had an offer on the table to him early on. He thought he was worth more. He went out there and looked around, didn't get it, came back and signed. So if Logan Ryan wants to play here, he knows what he's going to get, and that's it. So I love that they're sticking to it. They're evaluating these players. They're putting a value on them, and they're not bending over. Steven talking trash over there now. I'm going to try not to beat the dead horse with Gase. Even myself have to do better as a fan and root for my team. On paper, the Jets are contenders for playoffs. Will they make it? Who knows? Yeah, DeMonica, I know we've had conversations about this, and you've kind of said that you're starting to see at least where I'm coming from with it. Like I said, the way I look at it is no matter who you wanted as your coach last year, how much better would they have done? We got to just look at it that way. So I'm just like, hey, I'm going to give him a chance. That's it. If you see the BS, I'll be one of the first ones to say, all right, he's got to go now. But it's like I can't fault him for last year. I can't. If I'm being objective, and I'm just sitting there looking at what happened, I can't fault him for what happened last year. That's not fair. So I'm not going to say what happened last year is on him. It's not. It was unfortunate circumstances that happened. Logan Ryan's not worth $10 million. Yeah, and that's why he's not a Jet yet, because we refuse to pay him that because he's not worth that. All right, so Braden heard it as well. So I guess that's why Beachum will not be back. So we'll have to look somewhere else. I'd rather get an edge than Ryan. Yeah, I would be all for bringing in like an Everson Griffin or Vinny Curry. Don't anybody mention Clowney. I don't want him. Coaches like Parcells put such an emphasis on special teams. Could the Jets have picked up a solid kicker in a late round as well as the punter? Or is that just something no GM is willing to do? No, they definitely could have, Joey. They could have easily picked a kicker instead of trading for another cornerback if they wanted to. I think the thing is they think while Ficken was not one of the best kickers in the league by any stretch, he was not horrendous either. He was probably slightly below average. Maher played a few good games. Like I said, he played really well against us. And I think they just want to see what they have. You already have 2 kickers on the roster. And that's one of the things we have to look at is, then you would have – I mean, they could have cut Ficken, but maybe they didn't want to yet because the thing is kicking at the Meadowlands is not easy. And he at least showed he can be passable kicking there. So I think he at least earned the shot to compete for the position, and that's why I wouldn't have just released him. So that's where they're at right now. They got 2 on the roster. We're going to have to see what happens with them. Marcus Golden. Yeah, so if somebody knows, please put it in the chat there. What is this stipulation with this unrestricted free agent tender that the Giants put on him? I think from what I heard from Chris over there, the entertainer, is that you'd have to pay him a certain amount of money, and if he doesn't sign somewhere else by a certain date, he can only play for the Giants next year or something like that. But it's a very rarely used tender, and the Giants did put it on Marcus Golden this year. So as long as it wouldn't cost us some kind of draft compensation, which I don't think it does, like I said, I think we just have to pay at least a certain amount to him. We'll see. But, yeah, I would definitely be for adding Marcus Golden as well. Like I said, we got to get somebody. Because I'm not sure I'm a huge fan of starting Terrell Basham at outside linebacker. Parcells put emphasis on everything. That's why he was the best coach in my lifetime, ignoring Belichick. Yeah. If Donald makes the next step, I trust Greg Williams. We should be a playoff team. That's the thing, Frank. So you look at last year, we were a top 10 DVOA defense with Copeland playing inside linebacker at one point, with Hewitt, Burgess, Cashman, all these different guys rotating in at inside linebacker. Inside linebacker probably the most crucial position on the defense because they are the vocal leader of that defense. They're calling the plays. They're making all the adjustments. They're making all the checks. And you rotate that many different people in there at that position. It was very, very impressive what they did. So if they keep that defense up there, they added some competent cornerbacks. While we don't have a corner number 1, we do have people that are better than what we had out there last year. And you bring back the line, you bring back a healthy C.J. Mosley, healthy Avery Williamson. This defense should be top 10 again, maybe even top 5. So with that and with at least average offense, that's a playoff team. And I think that's where we're going to be. So I can see them competing for the playoffs deep in as well. I kicked a 25-yarder at MetLife Stadium, 2018 draft money. Nice. I was a kicker. I never got to kick at MetLife Stadium. I kicked at Penn, University of Penn, Franklin Field. I kicked there. That was pretty fun. That's probably the best stadium I ever kicked at. Hey, Todd, how's it going? Glad you were able to come in. I think the team has to pay him more than 5.5. Okay, for Marcus Golden. I wouldn't mind that. I'll give him $6 million. There you go. I beat you 5.5. On a tee, nobody rushing me, no holder. That's still something to tell the grandkids. Yeah. Hey, you got to get on the field. Just saying you stepped on the field. We don't have to tell them it was on a tee and if there was nobody rushing you. For all they know is there was a million people rushing you. All right? They were right there about to tip it, and you just banged it through. That's it. They don't need to know if there was nobody there. You can leave that part out. So, and they drafted Darnold, best day ever. Oh, yeah, 2018. I didn't even correlate that together. Perfect. But so what did you guys think about me collabing with Sunshine Sports Network? You guys like that? I'm trying to see if I can get them on a few more times during this, at least this series that I'm doing here, as long as we get our schedules aligned. Nice, Todd. So what is the next position group we're going to do? So we did quarterback, we did offensive line, we did wide receiver. No, we didn't do wide receiver. We did tight end. Do we want to stay on the offensive side, or you know what? Let's talk about the wide receiver position. because that was the video I was going to put up today. I didn't get a chance to do it. Don't have my rankings yet, but how would you guys rank the division at wide receiver? I'll tell you what, it's a very weak position group for this division. I think the Bills are easy number one. And then it's a bunch of teams really fighting for bad spots in the rankings, right? If we were ranking the whole league, the next 3 teams are going to be towards the bottom of the league. And it's something that we're, at least, with the Jets, we do have some potential there. We drafted Mims this year. Perryman kind of showed a little bit what he can do. If Perryman can do what he did last year, and Mims is the type of player that everybody thought, our wide receiver group can really jump up the rankings pretty quickly. But those are ifs, right? So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Let's see what's going on in this chat here. Hold on. All right, Braden liked the collaboration. Perfect. Yeah, I like it too, man, because I did this. I created this YouTube channel to interact with you guys, interact with other fans, and just talking to my camera and making the videos while I enjoy it, because then I get to interact with you guys in the comment section. It's not as, fun as having somebody else on there and really actually talking to somebody as opposed to talking to my computer screen. So I enjoyed it more than doing my regular videos. So I plan on it. I know you asked about the having one person from each team in the division. I would love to do something like that. I think what happens right now is with my fan base and my subscribers being so low, a lot of these other people don't want to make content with me, which I guess I can understand. But that's why I found Sunshine Sports. He's got a little more subscribers than me, about 200 and so subscribers. We'll help build our channels together. But yeah, if I could find the Bills and as much as I don't want a Patriots guy on my channel, if I could find a Bills and Patriots guy, I'd love to do one team from one YouTuber from each team in the division. That would be a lot of fun to be able to do that. Steven's happy to not be the oldest guy in the chat now. So there we go. I played when you can really hit. Yeah, for sure. I enjoy it as well. When you hit someone, men now business decisions when it comes to hitting or being hit. Yeah. And with being hit and a lot of the rules changing, I was talking with Demonic about this, and I think he might have left the chat. I haven't seen him talking in a little bit. But I was talking with Demonic about this in his Discord. I'm in his Discord if you guys so we talk a lot, and that's why I mention him a lot throughout these live streams, because we're usually talking throughout the week about different things. So the onside kick rule and how they're thinking about changing that to the 4th and 15. As a former kicker, he kind of asked my opinion. I took a lot of pride in my onside kicks. So I only played collegiate football my freshman year of college. And then I went back to what was my true love. Any kicker is usually a soccer player for my sophomore year. And then just decided it was time to get a job and stop playing because I knew I wasn't going pro. But so my freshman year, there was a senior kicker that was the starting kicker, and I was the primary backup. But I was actually the onside kick specialist, and we went like 11-1 that year, or however many games we played. We only lost one game. We even won our bowl game. So we weren't onside kicking at all. We did not do a single onside kick all year. The game that we lost was a 6-3 mud bowl. Somehow our kicker got a field goal relatively early in the game. The other team scored a touchdown and failed on the conversion because it was just pouring all day. So no onside kick there. But I had about 6 different onside kicks that I can perform, especially if we were lined up in regular kickoff position. That opened up a few other options for me as well. So that's what got me to special teams onside kick spot, because I did have so many different ways I can put the ball in play. And it is a talent and it's an art to do that. It's not just all about lucky bounces. There's a lot of different – I would have one where I spiked it into the ground, it hit the ground, and do one high bounce right away, immediately. I had the more traditional one where it kind of rolls a little bit and then pops up. after it tumbles over a few times. I had one where you kind of pop it to the bat, like behind the receiving team. So the receiving team usually has a few rows, and you pop it kind of behind him, and you have a real fast guy all the way in the end, and he just guns down the sideline. So I had one where I think Vinatieri might have did it once, where from the regular kickoff formation, I can kick it to where it would bounce alongside my leg for 10 yards, and I would recover it. So there's a lot of talent in that, and there's a lot of different things that you can do. The reason why you're looking to get rid of it is because it's so hard to be successful now anymore, because the rest of your team can't get a running start. If you're at a standstill, there's no way they're going to be able to get over there to make a play on it. The ball goes too fast. So I understand for concussions and things like that, and I don't know the statistics on how often these concussions occurred on each specific type of play. So you got to take their word for it. But, I mean, an onside kick happens once every few games. Some teams might not even kick an onside kick all year. So I think just let them go back to getting that 5-yard head start and let these kickers do their job. I mean, that's one thing where it's a real specialty and a real ability to do that and perform that at a high level. So that's what I would do to solve that. But then again, I know that they're worried about concussions. And if they do see a lot of concussions on onside kicks, they're never going to do it. Yeah. 4th and 15, it's just a really hard conversion as well. That's what Greg Williams does. He said he took his defense from Buddy Ryan. Hence the one high free safety. And no, I don't mean smoking weed high. So, yeah, the one main issue I have with Greg Williams' defense is the way he has his corners play. And I'm hoping that was just because those guys weren't talented enough last year. But when you have them play so much behind them, right? And what he always does, he teaches people – they don't turn for the ball. They're face guard and they just run like that, right? And it just leads to so many pass interference calls. So like I said, I don't know if that was something that was being coached in there or if that was just something that these guys were just so bad that they couldn't turn around and locate the ball. But they would literally they watch the receiver, watch him. They see his hands go up and they put their hand up to just try to get in between. And it just causes too many penalties. But it'll be – we'll see now with some better corners while we still, again, don't have elite corners, much better than what we had last year. Steven, you talking about getting high over there? I saw something earlier. I'm just trying to pull it up while I'm waiting to see what else we're going to chat about today. So Joe Namath turned 77 today. That's interesting. For all the people that believe he's cursing the team, 1 year older for Joe Namath. Well, we want him to stay healthy as long as possible. But so I did want to mention something. Like I said, I don't like to get into what kind of shampoo to use. The one that makes, what is it? Nair, that's my shampoo. Yeah, I heard you guys talking about it, David. Thank you for hopping in here. I did watch it for a little bit. That was very interesting. So, Steven, Entertainer was on somebody else's channel. I don't even know who it was. I popped in there for a minute, and the guy just he didn't want to answer any questions. He kept saying, "Why is everybody asking me the questions?" When it's his channel, and Entertainer was his guest. But yeah, David turns 21 tomorrow. Cheers to you, buddy. You can legally drink now. Sean, it was brutal. Yeah, no, like I said, I saw about 5 minutes before I came on to my stream here, and it was absolutely that. So, David, I want to get your take in the chat there. My next video is going to be on ranking the wide receivers in the AFC East. How would you rank the teams? Let's see what you would put from all the AFC opponents, teams 1 through 4, wide receiver talent. He's my niece's age. Damn, I'm old. Rank every wide receiver name. No, not every wide receiver, just the teams, their wide receiver groups. So I was saying that, obviously you got to have Buffalo number 1, and then it's just a crapshoot after that. I don't think any of the other 3 teams really have enough proven talent to really to differentiate themselves from each other. So I actually saw Bleacher Report did a power ranking. Yes, the wide receiver course. Bleacher Report did a wide receiver one. So I checked it out. 32 was the Redskins. Then it was Jets, Patriots, Dolphins, I believe. But it was all 3 of us right there in a row at the bottom. And I can't really say I disagree, because with the Jets, I see a lot of potential in our wide receiver group. Like, obviously, if what Perryman showed at the end of last year is not a fluke and more in line with what his ability can be, and Mims is what everybody thinks he was going to be, then we have a lot of talent in our wide receiver room. Because Crowder, I think, is one of the better slot corners in the whole league. And then you add 2 very, very good players on the outside. And this wide receiver group could have a lot of talent. But like I said, it's hard to rank them high when Perryman showed it for, 6 games, and Mims is a rookie. So it's going to be interesting to see how quickly this wide receiver group can mesh with Darnold and can really start to develop into the talent that they have. You think we pursue Everson Griffin? I don't know, Frank. Like, at this point, I haven't heard many rumors of us going after any of those guys. Like, I really want us to go after Everson Griffin, or potentially, like I mentioned before, Vinny Curry or even Marcus Golden. But I haven't heard anything yet. We'll see come tomorrow if some more rumors start to come around as we get the extra money from, Jermaine Johnson now being officially off the books. But we'll have to see. I hope so, though, Frank. How's it going, Roland? Thanks for coming in. I think the Dolphins do with Parker. Yeah, so Parker is probably, if you look at ability to be a true number 1, I would probably put Parker as number 1 in the whole division. I think Edelman is more of a slot. I think Edelman's going to fall back a little bit now without Brady. Diggs, I think, is a real high-end number 2 to low-end number 1. I think Parker has all the ability in the world to be a really solid number 1. So I was high on Parker, but we'll see. He definitely showed some last year, but he's got to put it all together. He's got to be able to produce week in and week out. If you want to be a number 1, if you want to be a true number 1, they have to. It's laughable. We're going to be middle of the pack offense this year. Yeah, like I said, that's what I'll sign up for middle of the pack offense this year, because then you continue to develop this offensive line. They continue to mesh together. You let Mims develop, and then we can be an above average offense the year after. So I sign up today for a middle of the pack offense. Hey, David, you and Mike should do a collab together. Brandon, what's up? I have him on, definitely. Oh, yeah. No, I would definitely do something with Dave. Like I said, I love doing the collaborations. It's just so much better when you're actually interacting with somebody and able to chat with somebody than just kind of talking to the camera. Even in these live chats, they're better than me just doing the regular videos, but then I'm kind of pausing to read. Never been the greatest reader. I was always more of the math guy in school, so it takes me a little while to read some of these sometimes. And then I read them wrong, and Steven gets mad at me because I think he said Becton, but he said Beecham. But it's all fun here. Joey's all on board with a collab. He could help you do your yard glass. New York Jets still unproven. I'm hoping Darnold has more time to throw. I see him distributing balls to both wide receivers and tight ends. Yeah, so I think what would really help Darnold in his development this year too is utilizing a lot of two tight end sets, especially with when you're looking at our wide receiver staff, right? You got Perriman, who I just mentioned, how we have to see if what he showed is legitimate or a fluke. You have Mims, who's a wide receiver, who's going to need to take some time. I want him no more than 2 feet away from Hines Ward at all times. He needs to be right there with him and learn. Hines Ward needs to stay on Mims as much as possible. Help him with that route running and all that. And then you give him the tight ends. Darnold has shown that he really likes to throw to tight ends. So I'd put Herndon. Herndon can be in line. He can be flanked out. And then Griffin can kind of flank out. So you can put Griffin in one of the slots. You can put Herndon in the inline tight end spot as well. Sean said, how much of a leash do you give Gase? So with Gase, it's a wait and see right now. Like I said, I can't blame him for what happened last year because no matter who I wanted to be hired as the head coach, how much better would they have done with everything we went through last year? So I'm giving them a few games. It all depends, too, on what happens with training camp. So if they're able to have a regular training camp and some sort of mini camp, the leash is shorter. If they don't have a mini camp and training camp gets reduced potentially, I think the leash has to get a little bit longer because all 5 offensive linemen that are going to start this year have never played a single snap next to each other. So it's going to be difficult for them to mesh and gel together. So you got to give that time. You got to, and again, this is not me making excuses for Gase. This is saying anybody. If they were decided Monken as the person that I wanted last year, it would have been the same thing. Like these guys need time to develop and really be able to mesh together. You can't go out there and expect 5 guys that have never played next to each other to be a cohesive unit right out the gate. And that's going to be a big indication on how if this offense goes or not. When wideouts disappear in a game, it's almost always because the corners are winning one-on-one matchups. Yeah, or Sean, he ain't going anywhere. He's here for at least 2 more years, no matter what. I wouldn't say that he's here for no matter what. The thing is, at the end of the day, if you lose the locker room and it's evident, you're gone. You're gone. You cannot go back into that locker room. So if everything goes sour this year and he really starts to lose the control of that locker room, he could very well be gone after this year. Like I said, I hope he's the coach here for the next decade plus because that means he did well. The Jets are doing well. We're sustaining success, right? Because the only way you're at a team for a decade plus, one of 2 things. 1, you have a lot of success. 2, you coach for the Bengals because they continue to have their coach there for quite some time when he couldn't win a single playoff game. I think he was there way longer than he had to be. He hired Douglas. They're good friends. Yeah, and I think that's going to be a big thing with Douglas too is he's going to have the opportunity, if it doesn't work out with Gase, to hire his own coach. But we'll have to see. Like I said, I'm hoping – my hope is that Gase is here long-term because that means we're winning right away. And that's what I want. That's all I want. I don't care who's the coach. I don't. I just want us to win. This is the first time we have both Herndon and Griffin both healthy. Those are 2 of Sam's favorite targets outside of Crowder. They could have a heavy role. Yes, exactly, David. And that's what I'm saying, especially when you're bringing on a young wide receiver in Mims and you don't have much behind them, right? Vincent Smith, I think you'll see him kind of in there. They'll take some shots deep with him. But other than that, I mean, I guess we have to see what Doxson has. He was a first-round pick, so hopefully we get something out of him. But you just don't know behind the top receivers, and you really have question marks about them as well. So I think the tight ends and even Le'Veon Bell out of the backfield will have to be heavily used in this offense. Nothing, Frankie Chain. Oops. I was just reading something. There we go. MC, he ain't going anywhere. Stop with this talk. Like I said, I don't want him to go anywhere. Oh, David, thank you. Sending some people. Brennan, we're happy to have you here. For me, Gase just needs to show us some tricks I don't even care if we win as long as the games are hard fought. Gase needs to be better play caller, balanced plays. But hey, I don't know if you guys felt the same way, but when he played against us, he destroyed us in a few games, Gase. Like I said, with Wilson and Grant, those two little shifty guys, man, he had them catching screen passes, catching short passes, run, end arounds, doing a lot of just different creative things with them that gave us nightmares when he was over there a few times we played them. So I think he has it in him. I think if you look at everything that happened last year, mono, and then not having a good backup quarterback, and then Darnold coming back and wearing a flak jacket, right? Our offensive line being so horrendous. I think he dumbed down the playbook, and that's what I'm really hoping, because of the fact that he's trying to protect Darnold, he's trying to do different things, and he just didn't have any talent. So I'm hoping that we see the playbook, and now it's also the second year in the system, right? So now he can start to go further into the playbook. Darnold has a better grasp on it. They can start to do some other things like that. So that's the thing. Whenever you start on a team the first year, it's hard to really get like the real intricacies in there. So we'll see if he's got to open it up this year, though, for sure. Thanks, Todd. I appreciate it, Todd, trying to get everybody to hit that like. Hey, we got 9 likes and 9 people in here. I know some people have been trickling in and out, but I'll take that ratio all day. He kept the locker room together last year. He's staying. Yeah, and Frank Gore loves him. It doesn't not that he likes him. He loves him. He went and played. He's played for Gase now 3 different times. And Gase has kept his word to Gore. Gase told him that if he ever became a head coach, he'd love to have him on his team, and he signed him twice when he was a head coach, both in Miami and now here in New York. So, and Gore is that veteran leader. People will listen to him. So he's going to help to keep that locker room together as well. Looking forward to seeing the players Joe D brought in playing. I can see some late-round picks and undrafted players being on the field, putting in quality time. Hopefully because of talent and talent alone, Joey. Hopefully they're not forced into action like a lot of people were last year due to the devastating injuries that we have. But I can definitely see – I think Hall is going to be the big one. Hall and Huff. So if you wanted me to give you a late-round pick and an undrafted, Hall and Huff would be the guys that I can see potentially making an impact right away. And obviously Mann, but that's a punter, so we're not going to really put him in that conversation because obviously he's the starter and he's going to make an impact. The tight ends are very deep. We have the two up top, and then you have Wesco, who's going to be that like Swiss Army knife, playing that fullback tight end hybrid, moving all around, blocking well, and he's deceptively good at catching passes. So I wouldn't sleep on him in the passing game. I think that they could potentially try to utilize him more in that fashion because I think that last year people figured he can't do that, but you'll see that he can do that right now. And then Brown, if he makes a team, he has potential as a receiver as well. I was watching the YouTube video of Joe Douglas making the phone calls to the players he picked. There's no phone call for Bryce Hall. I watched them all too, Steven. I'm not sure if I saw it or not. I'll have to check it out and see if I can find it. I'm sure it is somewhere. Why would they have not done with Hall? That doesn't make sense at all. Flacco being a good mentor, or is he all talk waiting to get a start if Sammy goes? I think it's a little bit of both. I think he realizes now that there's no way he was going to get a starting job this year, so he had to be a mentor somewhere. He'd rather go where he knows somebody. He knows Joe Douglas well. Joe Douglas actually scouted him when he was coming out. And I'm sure he looked at Darnold and said, look, he got nicked up his rookie year and missed a few games. He had the mono, unfortunately, this year, but he also got nicked up this past year, too, with the thumb. Didn't cost him any time. He probably figures that the Jets, there is a chance that Darnold could miss a game or two and gives him an opportunity to be a backup. I do believe that he's going to be a better mentor than he was both in Baltimore and in Denver. Because at that point, I think especially Baltimore, I think he really thought that like the team was still his, and I think that really hurt him, and his ego took a big blow then. And then it happened again with not even a first-round pick in quarterback in Denver. Now I think he realizes, and he does have a lot of experience to be able to give Sam a lot of help. Bryce said he woke up the next day and said, I woke up and saw I was drafted by the Jets. Oh, wow. So I guess there wasn't a call then. That's funny. Got to check on local protests. I'll be back. Yeah, just my quick thing about those protests, man. Because I don't like to do political or any type of stuff like that on my channel. What happened to that gentleman was definitely murder, and that was wrong. And that cop and all those other cops that were standing by deserve to be punished to the fullest extent of law. But I was on Twitter quite a bit, reading a lot of comments, and there was some people out there that were saying a lot of good stuff. We have to look to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. And when we're protesting is fine. If you got signs and you're out there and you're going to City Hall, wherever, and you want to have your voice heard, or going outside the police precinct and just peacefully protesting, fine. But burning down your own cities, burning down people's employments, businesses, these people work very, very hard to get these businesses, and you have no regard for that at all. That is unacceptable. And that is not helping. That is only hurting even more. So, just we need to do it the right way. And that's the only thing I'm going to say about that. Everyone in the chat, do you guys want to see collab between NY Sports and myself? Steven definitely let you know what that is. Like I said, I'm down for whatever, man. I'm on here to have fun, and that's what I want to do. And it's great talking with you guys every Sunday night. Like I said, it's a lot of fun to just talk Jets with a lot of people here. I really like the recent post Jets X Factor did on Flacco. See, I got to admit, Jets X Factor, he really knows his stuff. And when Ryan brought him onto his channel, I was very, very impressed. He knows his stuff a lot better than I do, right? I don't break down film or anything like that. The problem with Jets X Factor's channel is I usually don't have 2 hours to watch. So I kind of will pop in, watch a few clips, and then I'm like on to the next thing, especially because I have a 4.5-year-old and a 1-year-old now. So for me to try to watch a 2-hour video, it's not going to happen. The only reason I get on these at 9 o'clock is because the kids are in bed now. So it's just very difficult to watch those videos, but he is excellent with what he does. I really liked what I heard from Flacco in his interview with how much and some people try to say that, Flacco wants to be a starter. Yeah, listen to what happened, right? They asked him if he thinks he can still be a starter. I want him to say yes, right? I don't want him to be like, no, I suck. I can't be a starter in this league. So that's the thing, right? He said he's here to be a mentor, and within that, he goes, you never know what can happen in the next 3 years. I still believe I can be a starter in this league, and I would love the opportunity to be a starter in the league. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. He could definitely parlay a backup job into a starting spot maybe next year. So we'll really have to see what happens with that. But I had no issue with what he said. You both get in a video can be the next Evan and Joe. Who's Joe and who's Evan? Joey, we don't complain as much as Joe does. Yeah, I could. I had one rant video. I had one so far. I think in season more you may hear me get like Joe a little more. Maybe not, but the entertainment factor will be there. Not a lot of people know this, but the law in this country are favored for the cops to get away with. Yeah, I mean, they definitely are. But like I said, we can't like sit. This is gonna be the last thing I say too. We can't just. It's not guilt by association either, though. Like, so we can't blame all the other cops for this one cop's actions, right? So I saw a great video of the sheriff in Flint. I think it was Flint, Michigan. Who him and his force, they all put away their batons, they all put them down, they put everything down, and they spoke to the crowd and they said, hey, look, we don't want this to be a protest, we want this to be a parade. And he's like, we're with you guys, we understand. And they walked with them. And see, there's no problem with that. Like, I have family members that are police officers, right? So there are good cops out there. There are good sheriffs out there. There's good people out there. So it can't be guilt by association. I'm not going to protest and say that the Jets and all NFL teams are horrendous because of what Aaron Hernandez did, right? It's the same thing, right? Because one cop did it in Minnesota doesn't mean that I'm going to go over here and harass all the cops in my town, right? They have nothing to do with that. And actually, If you guys are on Twitter, check out my Twitter, NY Sports MC. I retweeted this guy, Scuba Steven. He was wearing a shirt that said free hugs, and he went over and he was giving cops a hug, and a bunch of other people were really heckling him, saying that because he was an African-American individual, saying that he was being a traitor and things like that. He goes, look, these guys aren't robots. He goes, did this guy kill anybody? Did this guy kill anybody? He's like, we have to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. I really, really like that. That was really, really touching and a really good video. We need more people like that. The entertainment on Joe and Evan's show is Joe and his nonsensical rants. You know what was really good on Joe and Evan when, and unfortunately it won't be happening this year because he's not going to be on the team anymore. But when Ty Montgomery used to get on with them, because they used to get real, and Ty Montgomery would say how he really felt about a lot of things. So I really liked those segments. I used to be waiting for those every week. Like I said, unfortunately, Ty's not back on the team this year. Okay. I'll check that out. Brandon. Yeah, no, Joe Blewett, his videos are just too long for me sometimes. Joe Beningo's an idiot. He doesn't know shit about the Jets. He just complains. Yeah, but that gets ratings, Stephen. That gets ratings. Just like the same reason why Stephen A. Smith, who's really known for basketball, talks about all sports now, because he can get on these rants and he can stir stuff up to get ratings and to get clicks. So that's all it's about. That's all it's about. Thank God my youngest kid is almost 20. Yeah, I got a ways to go yet, Todd. I got a ways to go. The problem is the government hires people just to start shit at the protests. I wouldn't doubt it. I would not doubt it. This season may be the beginning of years of quality games played by the Jets built by this GM. Your lips to God's ear, Joey. I really hope so. I think Darnold takes a big leap. If this offensive line meshes together, we're going to be good for a long time. I really do believe that. Joe Blewett is a great dude. We used to go back and forth on Twitter all the time. Yeah, he is. And like I said, his film breakdown is impeccable. It's really, really good. But like I said, I usually just don't have 2 hours to watch it. And that's so with the constant winner. So I know a lot of people, I've heard David get asked it quite a bit on his live streams. The panel got asked it a few times about the 1 year and the 2 year, pretty much all the 1 year deals that Joe Douglas has given out. That's how you build a sustained winner, especially when you're first starting, right? You have to give yourself flexibility. These people come in and do well. You have them on your roster, so you can negotiate contracts with them while they're still there, right? And even like the fan signing, right? It is a 3-year deal, but you can easily get out of it after one. So you give yourself flexibility moving forward to where if these two guys produce, yes, you may have to pay them a little bit more than if you would have signed them to a longer-term deal now. But if they don't produce, you can get rid of them. And you don't have all these cap ramifications and all these issues like with Tremaine Johnson. So now, yeah, we're going to get $11 million tomorrow, but now we're going to be missing like $8 million next year. So it's like that's a really bad signing that's hurting us 2 straight years in a row now. Not to mention the 2 years prior when he was playing substandard. So it's going to help us to build a winner because it allows him time and his crew time, and he's got a great crew in there in the scouting department, player development, to get these guys in through the draft and also to help supplement them now with some talent and free agency. Plus, you know, if the right guy is not out there to spend big on a free agency, you shouldn't spend big, right? When was the last time you see the Patriots making big free agent splashes? Right? It doesn't really happen that often. They may make a nice trade. They're more likely to make a splash trade than a splash signing. So I think if if the right person comes available, they'll spend big. But I just don't think they're going to willy-nilly spend like some of our previous GMs have. So I'm very excited about the future of this team with Joe Douglas at the helm. But no Super Bowls because his name is still alive. Steven, we spoke about that last week. We had a nice long chat about that. Yeah, I did hear that he liked Fant. So Fant showed some signs at tight end. I didn't see the film, but from everything I heard, they used him a lot to help block Nick Bosa last year, and apparently he did very well. He was like that extra tight end on the side of Bosa, and what really, really helped to block him. Randy Moss is the only guy that's coming to mind. Yeah. Big fan. It was my uncle, Stephen. It was my uncle, not my grandfather. That was my uncle that said a lot of the same things that you said. Yeah, that's one. And how many years? A lot of the other stuff has been trades. It has been, or they drafted these people. So that's something too that you can't really do when you're at the spot the Jets are in, right? And when people say, should we trade for Yannick Ngakoue, I say absolutely not. Because it's going to cost you a relatively high draft pick and a boatload of money. And when you're in a developmental stage, right, we all, a bunch of us have said it in the comments, and I've said it myself, we all think that we can compete for a playoff spot, right? We should be playoff contenders. And that's the type of talent that's on this team. But I think we can all agree that this team is not yet ready to be called Super Bowl contenders, right? That's the type of move you make when you're a Super Bowl contender, right? Potentially that last piece to really get you over the top. That's when you make moves like that to go get those guys. You don't do it when you're this far out. So, and plus, I'm not as high on Yannick as a lot of other people. I think he's a very good player. Is he elite defense changing? I don't think so. I think he had 1 year of double-digit sacks, and he was part of a team called Saxonville because they had so many people getting sacks. So many people able to get to the passer that were occupying blocks. Like I said, it goes back to is his production going to increase or decrease when he becomes the man and the main edge rusher? And it's probably not, right? If you have other talent around you, you're not going to all of a sudden become better when it's not like some other positions, where you can potentially, like maybe wide receiver, but then if you don't have talent around you, they start to crowd you more. But if you're somebody like Hopkins, it doesn't matter, right? You can still get yourself open. No, like if you're an edge rusher and you have a beast of an edge rusher along with you, or just multiple other edge rushers, they're going to take double teams away from you, right? And free you up for some more things. So that's the thing. I'm not going to give up draft capital and a bunch of money. Hey, Devin. I didn't even see you in. I don't know if you just popped in, but yeah, Clowney is better than Yannick. Yannick, his hurry and pressure rates is much higher. I just don't want Clowney either, Devin. I've made that very clear in a lot of my videos and live streams. I just don't think he's the edge rusher that we need. I would be very happy to see him at right tackle, proving people wrong. We talking about Fant? Yeah, I think that he can, and he's got a really good attitude too. He's a little, he got a little upset. He wanted to play left tackle, but obviously that's not going to be a thing right now. But did say that he just wants to play, right? He wants the ability to show what his talent. So what happened was he took over his rookie year after a few injuries, and then he was in line to be the starter his second year. Oh, excuse me. Got hurt, and that's when they made the trade with the Texans for Dwayne Brown, I think it was, and then was just relegated to the bench in that sixth offensive lineman position. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do. Like I said, it's great that you can cover those guys in spurts like Myles Garrett or like Nick Bosa, but when you're playing week in and week out, there's more film on you. The other teams can dissect that film, and they can potentially look for weaknesses and try to exploit them. So we'll have to see with a whole season of playing how he stacks up against these talent. Have one of the harder seasons is an uphill battle. I'll be happy when we're competitive in every game we're in. I'm hoping at least. Yeah, Roland, I'm not a big believer in that harder schedule thing. I don't like that terminology. I don't like it, at all. And I think it's a built-in excuse before the season even starts. So we don't know. It's all based off last year, and there's always teams that made the playoffs that end up falling back. There's always teams that didn't make the playoffs that end up making the playoffs. So you can never tell. Like, look at the year, and I always will say this one as an easy example. Look at the year Peyton Manning got hurt. They went from probably like an 11 or 12 win team, one of the top teams in the AFC, to the number one seed, right? So if you go into that season and you're looking at the strength of schedule, if you're playing the Colts, that's going to look negatively as a really tough game. When meanwhile, it was one of the easiest games on the schedule that year. So you never know when an injury may happen or something like that. Or even teams like Jacksonville, right, that have been doing this high-low kind of thing, right? One year they do really well. One year they're picking at the top of the draft again. So you never know what will happen. And the thing is, we won 7 games with second and third stringers. So while we had to eat an easier schedule, we were playing with subpar talent. So now with talent, we should be able to compete with better talent. If you look at Jenkins' hurry pressures, they're absolutely terrible. It shows that most of the sacks are pressure sacks. Yeah, Jenkins would be a really solid he needs a really solid edge on the other side. He's not an edge rusher. He is an edge setter. He's really good at setting the edge. He's good in run defense, and he gets his 6 to 7 sacks a year. So if you had somebody who can get 15 sacks on the other side of the ball, Jenkins would be a perfect complement to that. But we don't. So it is what it is. About that time, MC. No yawning in sports talks. Yeah, I know. We're going to wrap it up in a little bit here. I just see that there's a lot of comments coming in right now. But, hey, you got to every once in a while. Coverage sacks, I meant. If both tackles play well, we could see a good year. They will be the difference makers. The whole offensive line is going to be the difference maker, Joey. Like I said, not a single one of them has played next to each other before, so it's going to be interesting to see how they mesh this year. But there will all be an impact on this team and how well we do. Tell that to the Goat House, dude. He's bashing everything off of last year. Basing everything off of last year. You can't do that every year. Yeah, you can't. I don't know who the Goat House is. If that's a YouTuber, I'd have to look him up. I have no idea who that is. But you can't. It's just because the thing is too. It's like we were a 7-win team, and I showed somebody, who was it? Oh man, I saw on Twitter somebody had us winning 3 games. I laughed. Something horrendous would have to happen for that to happen. But we were playing with such lower talent last year. We're gonna have so much more talent this year. It's not even funny. I want to see. True. Last season is last season, but traveling to the West Coast is always tough. Yeah, they have back-to-back West Coast games where they're actually they've already announced they're gonna stay on the West Coast. So that should help, but we'll have to see what's going on. I want to see Becton play 2 or 3 years from now. Right now, he's big, strong, young man, but fully grown man strength is coming from him. So, Todd, I think for Becton, Becton is going to be an above-average run blocker right out of the gate. I think pass blocking, he's going to be we got to hope for average, could be slightly below average. And don't get down on him if it is that way. He's going to develop, and I think he will be an elite offensive lineman. We just have to give him time. We can't expect him to be elite year 1. Can you tell me what position on the O-line Josh Andrus is most proficient at? I believe he's a guard, Braden. I believe Josh Andrus is most likely a guard and is there to be guard depth. Yep, see, Steven agrees with me, guard. This is going to be the longest 2 hours of my life, LOL. What's going on for the next 2 hours? I don't know what. Oh, because you turned 21 in 2 hours. Yeah. It's going to be exciting. I hope you're able to do something and really celebrate. I know with everything still not really being open, I don't know how much you can really go out. But I hope you enjoy your birthday as best as you can. I did see that you posted that you're going to have some sort of stream celebrating your birthday. Depending on what time that is, I will definitely try to tune in. I know I'm working, so if it's during the day, it might be a little difficult. But if you're doing it in the evening, I should be able to at least pop in and say hello, happy birthday. Right or left? Right or left what? Hands, feet, political parties. I don't know what you mean there. My big concern is that the entire O-line is brand new, and who knows what's going on with the COVID thing. They need time. Yeah, they absolutely do, Devin. And that's what I said earlier about, like, I was asked how much of a leash am I giving Gase, and I said it all depends upon how much COVID affects training camps and their ability to practice because of that offensive line. If they don't get to practice that much and they don't get to gel together, how can I really blame anybody on that, right? It's just kind of the circumstance that happens, and it may take them time to develop, and we're going to have to be patient. And that's the one thing I preach to a lot of, my friends that are Jets fans and things like that, is we have to, as a fan, I know it's been a while. It's been most of us probably weren't even alive when we won the Super Bowl, but we have to be patient. The problem lies with a lot of these New York teams is that they're not patient. They keep turning it over, and you're just constantly rebuilding, right? And it's just a mess. So we got to be patient to a certain point. And that's why I'm telling everybody to be patient with Gase, be patient with his team. It was 1 year. There was a lot of adversity last year, and they still won 7 games. You gotta give that some kind of props. So, we have to be patient. Don't be in a rush to get older. Time flies. It definitely does. Stephen S. Shoe, my time in college flew by. Hey, David, I've got a 21-year-old bottle of whiskey in my cabinet. I'll have a glass for you. Braden's got a bottle of whiskey as old as David. There you go. Fant was a basketball player before getting into football, and Becton is a big Shaq fan. Who'd win it? So, Roland, it's funny that you say that. So, somebody posted a video, I think, of Becton playing basketball in high school, and then they also posted like the rivals prospect rank of Fant as a basketball player, and I think Becton challenged Fant to a game, so that would be interesting. Becton going to try to shack him all day and just back him down with that weight, but it would be interesting. I would love to. I'm sure they will play. I'm sure they're going to be teammates when they're allowed to be in the facility. I'm sure they'll play and have some fun. I just want to know if we'll hear about it. We'll be able to hear how that went. That would be interesting. The league owes Kaepernick an apology. Okay. Bringing my car to the dealership tomorrow to get fixed after work. Can't wait to get my checking account bonus. Yeah, you got to make sure you have a – so the dealership, if you go to any like outside place, you got to really like kind of watch out, because my dad was an auto mechanic for 37 years. But you go to somebody, a lot of people are in business for the right reasons, and they want to do well and they want to put out good work. But there are some people that'll change parts or not even change parts and bill you for it. So you always got to be careful what you bring into places. Changing coach staff constantly only hurts the young players. Yeah, and like I said, it didn't matter whoever you wanted to be the head coach last year. How much better would they have done? We won 7 games with the most injuries in the league, and playing people that weren't even on the team in training camp. That's ridiculous. Starting 10 or 11 different offensive line combination. Ken O'Brien and Dan Marino played in some really impressive shootouts. Wow. Yeah, I think we can see some shootouts this year. If that offensive line is what we think it can be, I think you will see some shootouts for a few reasons. One, I think Darnold has the ability to be in those shootouts. I think he showed that against Aaron Rodgers in that Packers game. And 2, our corners, while improved, are still not very good. So they could be exposed, and we could get into some high-scoring games for sure. That's what I hope is the Kansas City game, right? I have I'm not going to say we're going to win that game, especially it's in Kansas City. But I just hope it's like one of those shootouts where Sam really shows how good he can be by just, trying to go toe-to-toe with Mahomes for as long as he can, when Mahomes obviously has a lot more talent on that offense than he does. So let's see. Week 1 is the Bills. So that guy the Bills drafted in the second round, that's going to be his first victim. No offense, they're all – whoa. Somebody got Steven all riled up today. Steven is definitely a little feisty today, getting a little angry over there. That's those chain auto shops. I avoid them at all costs. If you go to the local mom and pop shops, their livelihoods rely on local customers coming back, so they usually – yeah, they do. But so what do we think? What's the next video? Sorry I didn't come out with a second one. Like I said, this week I had a lot going on with my son's birthday yesterday and work all week. So we did tight ends. We did offensive line. We did quarterback. Do we want to stay on the offensive side of the ball, or do we want to move to defense? Let's see. Let's get some votes in here. No votes? Nobody wants to see the cornerbacks. Why do you want to see us in last place? All right, that's one vote for the corners. Corners will be tough, though, because the other teams have really good corners, and it'll be interesting to rank them. I can tell you right now, we're fourth for sure. For sure, we're number 4. But the top 3 will be interesting. I'll give a little chat about my just thoughts off the top of my head without doing any research. You got the best corner in the division and maybe in all football on the Patriots. I really don't know who their second corner is. You have the 2 highest paid corners in the league on the Dolphins. And then you have one very good corner on the Bills as well. So I would probably – it'll be interesting. Those 3 are going to be a toss-up. Yeah, he's very good. Tre'Davious White. He's not – he's probably the second best corner in the division, I would say. But Gilmore is definitely the best. And it's funny because the Bills – I know he's on the Bills. So I would – like I said, Gilmore's so good. And Byron Jones was like a safety. Now he's corner. Well, he was a corner, and then he was a safety. Now he's corner again. So I don't know if I'm buying into the hype just yet on him. I think he's a good corner. Is he an elite number 1? Should he be the highest paid corner in the league? No. We'll have to see. Christopher Curtis, do you think we should go after Juju at the trade deadline to help Sam Darnold? Because it sounds like Steelers didn't extend him, and he's looking for a contract. So, Christopher, I don't know if he would be available at the deadline. I think he may be a very good option for us in the offseason. I think he would want to come here too. He is very good friends with Sam Darnold from what I've heard. He did really – Sam Darnold helped him to get drafted where he got drafted. He did rise up some boards with playing – had his best year with Sam Darnold in college. So I can definitely see that connection there. And I think that's more of an option in the offseason, though. I don't know if the Steelers would trade him, though, at the deadline, because I can see the Steelers, with Big Ben being back, being competitive and being in the thick of it, and you're not going to trade what's probably your number 1 wide receiver when you're in a race to make the playoffs. I feel like Byron Jones was massively overpaid. I do as well. All right, Steven. Yeah, I'm getting ready to get off here too. We went 15 minutes over. So we'll do corners the next video. Like I said, probably Wednesday or Thursday. Like I said, I'll try to get that second one out like we always do. But man, I really appreciate all you guys checking out coming and hanging out again tonight. Like I said, if you guys are on Twitter, check out my Twitter. Follow me on there, NY Sports MC. And if I think there was a few new people in here today, or at least a few people that checked out the live stream for the first time. If you guys are not subscribers already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We do this every Sunday night at 9 p.m. So make sure to come back next Sunday. We'll talk some more. And as always, jet up, guys. Be safe out there.